Doodlebug. Chapter 31, Terry and the Gravel Pile. I've never had a mellow character. When I was a teenager, I thought of myself as a relaxed, easygoing sort of person, laid back, like a surfer dude, although growing up in Vermont I'd never met any surfer dudes. I thought this because that's what I wanted to be, but wanting something doesn't make it so. One day I rounded the corner of our house, deep in thought about some project, and my head collided with the open edge of a metal window. It was a good knock, and it bled a bit, as head cuts usually do. I let forth a stream of curse words, blaming the stupidity of the window and life in general. My mother, when she determined that the injury wasn't serious, made a comment about my needing to chill out a bit, to which I replied that I was the most laid-back person in the whole family. In the conversation that followed, she told me that I had a rather dark, intense character. Black Yankee was the term she used, and she suggested that if I looked up at the world instead of walking around with my head bent in thought, I would see the next window that happened to be open in my path. I protested with such vehemence and anger that I pretty well proved her point for her. Not wanting her to be right, and sincerely wanting to be an easygoing sort of person, I spent years trying to cultivate a degree of mellowness into my being. Part and parcel with this was a belief that human relationships are never improved by violence. This is why the incident with the gravel pile was so shocking and eye-opening. I'd just turned 28 and was working with my friend Terry, who is also not known for his mellowness of character, in his landscaping business. We had a nice job building some stone walls and a sunken terrace at an old farmhouse halfway up the side of a hill. The place faced south and west. It was fall and there were just two of us on the job, although there were some carpenters renovating the house. It was a particularly beautiful and idyllic job site. The leaves were changing and we had a spectacular view of the Worcester Range. After about a week of work, I felt a tension rising between us. There was no obvious cause, just tension. Then one day we were standing by a pile of gravel, discussing and probably disagreeing about some part of the job, when one of us pushed the other. I can't say who pushed whom because neither of us remembers. We're still friends 25 years later. But one of us saw that the other was slightly off balance and took the opportunity to push him over. A wrestling match ensued on top of the gravel pile, down the gravel pile, on the driveway, and down the nearby embankment. At some point, each of us came close to pinning the other, but in the end it was a draw, with each of us exhausted. When we recovered our breath, we wiped the blood and dirt out of several minor cuts and went back to work as though nothing had happened. But something had happened. Our relationship had immeasurably improved. We didn't discuss this until several years later. We hadn't discussed the rising tension either. But we worked through the rest of the job and several jobs after in a spirit of friendship and camaraderie. I was reluctant to accept what had happened because it contradicted what I wanted to be and what I wanted to believe. But the fact is, our relationship improved through violence.